Joining us right now is Mike Gibbons. Mike Gibbons has been in the thick of this thing from the very start. He joins us now to talk about the home stretch. Mike, thank you so much for joining us on AM 1420 The Answer. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Bob.
What'd you react? How was
I'm
your...
on a
no,
I'm on a bus on my way to Mahoning County.
Hey, I saw your press release that you're campaigning in Mahoning County today. Good for you. What was your reaction? I did see an email from your team that says Gibbons, that JP guy, he's doing great. You pounced all over this from the email standpoint, telling everybody what you thought of this. Can you tell me more specifically what you thought of President Trump not knowing J.D. Vance's name just a week after giving the endorsement?
You know, I came as a surprise, obviously, especially this late in the game. Somewhat inconsiderate after we've worked so hard for a year. He was in just barely out of single digits. Now he's a player. We have not had a lot of people. In fact, I can only think of one, and I think hopefully she'll change her mind. That is, called and said, "Mike, we supported you, but we're going to vote for J.D. Vance." That's not happening. Everybody I talk to says we're not budging. We've already either voted for you or we're voting for you. I don't think it's going to have the impact that everybody thought it would. We see goodwill wherever we go.
Mike, we're going to have to interrupt you here. We got a terrible cell phone connection. I don't know where in Mahoning you might be right now, but it isn't working out for us. So I'm going to put you on hold, talk to Johnny, get somebody else's phone that's on that bus maybe, see if there's a better signal, and we'll try to make this happen. It's a little bit tough to do when you're on the move like this, but we do want to hear from you, and I want to hear the rest of what you just had to say. And I agree with that. I expect that to be the case. That supporters of Mandel are still going to stay with Mandel despite Trump's endorsement of Vance. Supporters of Gibbons are going to still stay with Gibbons despite Trump's endorsement of Vance. But it's that big, giant pool of undecideds that I think is the key here. There's the last poll I saw showed 33% of the likely GOP voters were undecided. Will they be swayed by President Trump's tip toward J.D. Vance or J.P. Vance or whomever that might be?
That's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for one race. We've endorsed Dr. Oz. We've endorsed J.P., right? J.D. Mandel, and he's doing great. They're all doing good.
So it's that undecided pool that I'm talking about. I'm told we have Mike Gibbons back on the line. Let's see if this line's any better now. Mike, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
You sound way better now than you did before, so that's great. You were kind of making the point, and you were saying that none of the supporters that you guys have talked to that were Gibbons before are now Vance because of the president's endorsement, President Trump's endorsement. As I was saying, as we reconnected with you, I don't expect Mandel supporters to flip to Vance because Trump said so. I don't expect Gibbons supporters to flip to Vance because Trump said so. But it's that pool of 33% of undecided voters, Mike, that I wonder how they will be impacted by the president's endorsement. What do you think?
Well, we wonder too. So consequently, we're trying to do everything we can to, with mailings and robocalls and actual calls as much as we can do. And I believe that J.D. Vance may have changed his mind. I hope he did. But I want to tell you something, Bob. When somebody says they have to hold their nose and vote for Hillary Clinton, you cannot have a thread of conservatism in your body. Think about what we thought of Hillary Clinton in that election. How even if you didn't like Trump, how could you possibly say something like that and be conservative? So I don't know where he stands. I don't know what his real makeup is. Another thing is, wherever I go in the state, I say, we got to get rid of the career politicians, and everybody cheers. No matter where I am, they cheer. Yet Josh Mandel continues to get votes from people that say they don't want a career politician. I don't understand how it works. I'm not a politician, so it's a very confusing race.
Mike, tell me what you think of the Dolan factor in all of this. I kind of just recounted just the way things have gone over the past few months. Mandela's had a good lead. You didn't mind that at all. You told me early on, I don't want to lead early because when you lead early, you become the target and everybody is trying to take you down.
That's
you'd rather
what
be
happened.
leading, yeah, and you'd rather be leading late. So you were kind of not leading early, but then you were leading kind of third quarter, if we want to make a football analogy here, which you like to do.
Yeah.
You were kind of in the lead in the third quarter. Now here in the fourth quarter, it's kind of shifted again. Not only has JD seen a surge from Trump, maybe with those undecideds, but you've slipped down to third or fourth place because here comes Dolan. Again, this is just the recent poll, the Trafalgar poll shows him pretty much in a neck and neck tie for the lead. What do you make of that and that shift? Or is this just a different group of voters that was polled this time and it was, happened to be heavily weighted with Dolan people?
Well, that, again, I'm as confused as everybody else. Matt Dolan hasn't been attacked by anybody. Matt Dolan started as a Democrat, ran as a Democrat initially, has had a lot of Democrat kind of attitudes and policies as he's gone through, voted against the Stand Your Ground bill, voted against the Heartbeat bill, because he's in Geauga County and he's kind of in a purple county, and that's the way he votes. Mm-hmm. Now, I've been around the state, and I believe this is more than a center-right state, and I don't think Matt Dolan's going to draw a lot of support from anywhere outside of maybe Cuyahoga County. And I know they heavily concentrate on Cuyahoga County and and Franklin County in these polls. We spent a lot of time in all 88 counties. And we hope that those undecideds are going to be influenced by our support in those counties. And, everything on the ground indicates that.
The Trafalgar one that I was just referencing shows Vance 26, Dolan 22, and this is the most recent. This is definitely fourth quarter. This is 2-minute drill stuff. Dolan right. 22, Mandel 20.8, and you dropped all the way down to 13 in that one. And again, you were leading just a few weeks ago. The latest Emerson is similar, but it has JD at 26, Mandel at 24, Dolan at 21, and you at 17. So a little bit closer, 9 off of the lead in that one. So 2 snapshots, 2 different polls, both of them at the same time frame, end of April, beginning of May here at this, primary eve. What do you think has led to your decline in those 2 polls from being in the lead to being in fourth?
$10 million worth of attack spending. Making things up from thin air. You saw the Mandel attack when I was in the middle of the debate.
Sure.
It had no bearing whatsoever on what I said. It was planned. He wanted to, have people suspect that I had, less than respect for the military. 3 days before that, my wife and I flew to Virginia Beach to say goodbye to my son, who was being deployed as a Navy pilot. It was completely made up out of thin air. Little slips have been, I have no legislative record. So little segments have been chopped out of various conversations I've had or interviews I've had to make me look like, I've been having town halls with Grover Norquist, and Rand Paul supported me. Yet they came out and said I wanted to raise taxes on the middle class. Now, that's absurd on its face. But if enough people hear it, they go, "Boy, I don't want to vote for Mike Gibbons. He wants to raise taxes on the middle class." That's the last thing I want to do. You know me from every speech you've ever heard me give. I talk about small government and lower taxes. But you can tell somebody, you can have a commercial that says Mike Gibbons hates babies, and there will be enough people who only see that commercial to think, I can't vote for that guy. He hates babies. And that's the state of politics in America today. And when you're a businessman that's never been exposed to it, I guess I was a bit naive to think that I could just tell the truth and get away with it.
Mike, let me ask you this about that. I had you on shortly after that video came out that was from last October, and your interview with Cranes or whoever it was, and you were reading the Democrat or reciting what you described as the Democrats' attitude toward taxes with respect to the rich and the middle class.
I was reading it right off the literally the numbers I gave were right off the IRS website.
No, I understand that. I understand that. But my question isn't about the specifics of that anymore. It's, do you think you've done a good enough job explaining that? Because after I had you on and gave you a chance to explain that, and I tried to process it myself, and I think I paraphrased you after, and you said that was accurate. That's how what you were doing there. I had people say to me, Bob, I'm still confused. I don't think he speaks clearly enough on this. Do you think you have clearly delineated your position enough on that? And also, one of the other ones I hear, Mike, from critics of you, and by the way, don't take any of this personally. I do this with Josh. I do this with JD. I hit them with everything that the critics are saying about them and give them a chance to respond. So I'm doing the same thing to you. They said that you didn't clarify in that debate, or since then, remarks about women never being oppressed. That you said women have never been oppressed. What are you talking about? They think it's misogynistic. So do you think you've done a good enough job of clarifying those criticisms? Go ahead.
Well, I consider the word oppressed a left-wing trigger word. And, there was a different culture. I assure you, the most respected person in my household was my mother. I have two daughters, and I don't know if you've seen the video that my daughter made, Caitlin, that talked about how I supported her. I believe this is America. And I don't believe anybody's held back by any oppression, that if they work hard and they have the ability, they can achieve anything they want. And that's what I taught my daughters. And, that stemmed from an interview I had with Colleen Marshall in Columbus. And I think the difference is it was a different culture, and women may not have had the same opportunities they had 100 years ago that they have now. But I don't call that oppression. I call it a different culture. And, just as they were not expected to go fight the world wars, and men were men oppressed because they were the ones who were forced into the military? I don't think that's oppression. I think that's the culture. And we've changed, and we evolved, and we have evolved. And women today, and I'm a huge proponent of this, as my daughters would tell you, that I don't believe anybody in America is held back from anything they want to accomplish. That's my view, and that's the problem. You get a 10-second soundbite, and somebody says, "Are women oppressed?" And now I guess they're. Well,
you've said that to me. Mike, you've said that to me a number of times, that, J.D. Vance sounds good in sound bites. He's very smooth. He's very, he's very good on a debate stage, and you aren't. You've said it. I don't speak in sound bites. I need some time to explain my positions on things, and that doesn't come across in a lot of places. So I know that's a bit of a challenge for you, which is why I asked, do you think you've done enough in enough interviews or rallies or events or speaking engagements to clarify your positions on things that people have criticized, like the tax
Well, I can tell you,
about the middle class?
In our polling, I'm leading among women. Or at least I was in the last poll. So I think, hopefully we've overcome that. I know I have, thousands of women supporters that recognize that the kind of attitudes I just expressed to you, that's my belief. Mm-hmm. I don't know. All I can say is I don't think Rand Paul and Grover Norquist would be. Grover Norquist hasn't endorsed me, but would he be having town halls with me, with somebody that wants to raise taxes on the middle class? It's ridiculous. And the hundreds of speeches I give, I always talk about lower taxes, less regulation, smaller government. That's what I stand for, and I've never equivocated about that. And if one slice of one interview does not change anything. And by the way, I didn't say I wanted to raise taxes on anybody. I just said, the left believes that the upper class doesn't, the highest income earners in America don't pay their share of federal income tax. They believe the middle class doesn't pay their federal share of the federal income tax. And I'm not sure what they think about all the people that don't pay any federal income tax at all. We have a very bad tax system, and it hurts particularly people that want to climb out of the position I was in when I was a kid, and in starting a business and being taxed as business people at personal tax rates. Every dollar that goes to the government, a dollar that could be creating a new job, or buying new capital equipment or expanding that business. And we don't design our tax code to reflect that. And we need to align the interests of the country with every bill we pass in Congress. And we don't do that in social spending or in taxation.
Mike, I'm a little short on time here, but I've got
Sure.
a special guest on the line. I was just made aware of this. This apparently is one of your supporters, like Rand Paul and Grover Norquist and others. Hey, Tony, say hello to Mike.
Yes, I'm here.
Tony, go ahead. Say hello to Mike Gibbons.
Mike, Tony George, how are you?
Hey, Tony, good. How are you doing?
Good. Listen, I heard you on the radio, and I figured I'd call in. I just wanted to make a point that I don't think everybody knows about. Bob, let me tell you, everybody supporting Mike Gibbons that is a finance chair for Mike Gibbons was also a finance chair for Donald Trump when he ran in 2016. Mike Gibbons was one of the earliest supporters for Donald Trump, probably one of the biggest givers. So when he came out with this endorsement for J.D. Vance, the president, Donald Trump, who we all respect and we all love, he upset a lot of his supporters. I could tell you that, not just from Mike Gibbons' camp, but from the other camps. It just doesn't make sense what he did. And I wouldn't read too much into the polls. I've never seen anybody work harder as a candidate than Mike Gibbons. He's been in every county probably 10 times since he's been running. He talks to the real grassroots people. He doesn't turn anybody away. This guy talks to everybody. This is the hardest working candidate I've ever supported in my career. And I wouldn't look at
Hey, Tony, real quick.
Tell everybody.
Yeah.
I would just tell everybody, get out and vote for Mike Gibbons.
Tony George, I appreciate you calling in and giving your testimonial there for Mike Gibbons. I appreciate that. Yeah, that kind of caught me by surprise, Mike. I figured he called. Let's put him on with you real quick. So he's one of your finance chairs. He's obviously a super successful and tremendous Cleveland area restaurateur and super successful businessman. So it is all about business because that makes the economy go. That puts everybody in good position. So Mike, let me give you the last minute here to make your closing pitch here. Especially since, you talked about $10 million in attack ads against you. Now it seems like most of the attack ads are going back and forth between JP Mandel and Josh Mandel. I'm sorry, I just can't get over that. But it sounds like they're attacking each other more now, and this could be the opening you need to slide right back in as they beat each other up and remind everybody of who they should vote for. So give us your closing pitch here, Mike.
Well, I'm not a politician, and unfortunately, in a political race, that hurts you. I am a conservative. I have been my whole adult life. I will make sure that anything I do respects conservative values. I'm doing this because I love this country. A lot of people are going to say, Mike spent all this money, and what a fool. I don't believe that spending money to try to help this country is anything but honorable. And win or lose, I believe that I tried to change the dialogue. I tried to push the conservative values that this nation has to have restored, or we're in deep trouble. I'm not a politician. What you hear from me is what you get. I have never said anything other than the truth when I speak at any opportunity I've had. I can't say that about my opponents. They can change like chameleons no matter where they are. What you're getting with me is a regular guy that decided he loved America enough to spend a lot of money to try to change things, and that's the reason I'm running, Bob.
Mike Gibbons, you have worked very, very hard in this whole thing. You've been upfront with me every time I call you on, and every time I ask you tough questions, you answer them. I think you guys have all done a pretty good job of that, answering the hard questions from the critics and things that just a lot of people are wondering about. So I appreciate you for doing that. I wish you the very best of luck tomorrow, Mike. And regardless, win or lose, we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye. Appreciate you very much. There you go.